Hi everybody, my name's Ercy and welcome to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be continuing my February TBR in which I'm going to be talking about the books that I'm going to be reading for Tome Topple. And Tome Topple is an event hosted by Sam over on Thoughts on Tomes and a bunch of other creators. I'll include them in the description box down below. It's an event where you try to tackle big books that are on your shelves. A tome is a book that's over 500 pages. However, one of the books doesn't quite meet that, but I mean, it's still a big book, so we'll see how that goes. The point of this Tome Topple is to just tackle those big books and try to get them read and challenge yourselves to read the big books, because sometimes some of the larger books can be intimidating. Even though I personally love reading big books, but I can understand why they can be intimidating. I also really love short stories, and I feel like there's an art to doing a short story, but there's something about getting lost in a big book that I absolutely love. For this Tome Topple, it's going to be taking place throughout 2 weeks in February. However, just like with the Contemporary-a-thon video that I just posted as well, I'm going to extend it throughout the month. That way I can really try to challenge myself to get these books read and see how far I make it. I might just read one book, who knows. I really want to try to read these books. I'm really interested in reading them. I even checked out a few from the library that I've been meaning to read or I've been wanting to read. We're going to see how it goes. For this round of Tome Topple, there have been some challenges that have been created in order to try to get you to achieve your goals. And one book can only count for 2 of those things on the list. So the first thing is a book that's been on your TBR the longest, a standalone, an audiobook, a book that's part of a series, one tome, as in just one of these big books, from a diverse author or a Black author, one from a genre that you don't normally read, a book with the most pages, and an adult book as well. I picked out the books that fit within all of these criterias. If I tackle all of them, I would have met all of the challenges. If I don't, it's not a big deal. I can just renew the books, or I mean, they're on my shelves too, so it's not a big deal. The first book that I'm going to try to tackle for this challenge, or for the month of February, is Berserker by Christopher Paolini, and this is the 3rd book of the Inheritance cycle. The first book is Eragon, the second one is Eldest, this is the 3rd one, and the 4th one is called Inheritance. And so this follows this boy, his name is Eragon, and he finds a dragon egg in the woods, and a lot of stuff happens afterwards. There's wars, scheming, learning magic, philosophy. There's a lot in this series, and these have been so far 5-star reads for me. The first one was a reread for me, but I read it like years ago, and so I've just been recently reading through the series, and I'm really glad that I am, because these are amazing books. These are really, really good. So this is the 3rd one of the series, and this book is 748 pages. So this one will read a book in a series, and because it's the first one, it's just going to knock off the 1 tome criteria from the challenge. So there goes my 1 book, or the first book of this challenge. The second book will come as no surprise. I'm going to try to tackle the 4th book of that same series, and that is called Inheritance. And this one is 849 pages. So this would be one that has been on my TBR the longest, because it's been on my shelves for a long time. Again, I've been meaning to read this series for like years, and I've just been putting it off and putting it off. So this is the 4th one, and it tackles the challenge of being on my TBR the longest and the one with the most pages. So again, this is 849 pages. So I'm going to try to get to both of these. These are like my priorities, finishing these 2 books and seeing what else I'm going to go through next. The 3rd book I'm going to try to tackle for Tome Topple is a crossover from my Contemporary-a-thon, and that is an Orchestra of Minorities by Chigozie Obioma. This is sort of a contemporary retelling of the Odyssey, but taking place in Africa, and it follows a young poultry farmer who spots this girl who's about to commit suicide over a bridge. And so he goes over to her and he shows her by throwing off 2 of his most prized chickens over the bridge. Poor babies. I'm really upset that that's in there, but whatever. He throws the chickens over the bridge to show her what her fate would look like if she chose to jump. And so a romance ensues between these 2. He winds up saving her life, but because she's from like a richer family, her family looks down upon him because he's like a poultry farmer. And so he saves up his money and he sells all of his things to try to go to college, to find out that that was a scam as well. And so he goes on a journey towards like finding himself and trying to prove his love to his girlfriend and trying to make something of himself as well. So this is supposed to be like a journey throughout Africa, throughout the continent. I believe it starts in Nigeria. Yeah, it starts off in Nigeria, and I believe it goes along throughout the continent. This book in particular will meet the standalone challenge, along with it being the book for Black History Month. And so this, because it is a Black author, the author was born in Nigeria. And so I really love books that take place in Africa, along with books that take place in Asia as well. They don't scare me. I really love reading those kind of books. So yeah, this is my third book for Tome Topple, and we'll see how that goes. The fourth book, and this is a kind of a surprise, I didn't know this was over 500 pages, but it is, and that's Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. And this is another one that's a crossover from Contemporary-a-thon that meets both stuff from there and for this one. So this book in particular is 527 pages, so just over the mark, and it's considered a tome because it's over 500 pages. So this is a romantic comedy following this girl who has her boyfriend, and they're living like a normal life until he invites her to go with him on like a family vacation over to Singapore. And when she gets there, she realizes he's not exactly who he is. He's very rich, very wealthy, #1 bachelor in Singapore considered, you know what I mean? And it's just supposed to be like a romantic comedy. I've been wanting to read this for a while. I still have not seen the movie because I want to read the books first. Maybe I can tackle it this month. Who knows? Because these books are pretty large. We'll see how that goes. It meets a book in a series because this is the first out of 3 books. But I already have that taken up by Brissinger. So this one is only going to meet the adult book challenge for me. So there's this one. So the last book that I want to try to tackle for this TBR, and this will be my audiobook selection, and a book from a genre I don't normally read, and that's going to be The Mister by E.L. James. Even though The Crazy Rich Asians is a romance as well, I'm more into like the romantic comedy. Like if I'm gonna read a romance, and I don't really read romances that often, they're usually like historical fiction ones or romantic comedies. Like I don't like stuff that's super like graphic, that's supposed to be super steamy, and like it just doesn't interest me as much. Even though it's a romance, it's not the type of romance that I'm typically into. I don't even know that much about it. Let me look at the synopsis real quick. I think it's supposed to be a romance between a guy and like his maid or like his housemaid. I'm mostly wanting to pick it up so I can say that I've read it with my friend, where she was interested in receiving the book, and so I got it for her. And I don't know if she's even read it yet, but I'm gonna try to read it just so that way I can kind of talk to her about it and we can make jokes about it or something. But it's not really something that I typically read. I'm gonna try to push myself to listen to it at least, so maybe that'll make it easier for me to read through it. But that book is also over 500 pages. It's 512 pages. Again, I'm not that interested in reading it. I'm more reading it to have like a discussion with one of my personal friends so we can kind of joke about it. But that's going to be it for my Tome Topple TBR / February TBR / Contemporary-a-thon TBR. I'm just all over the place with this. So with that being said, I thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you consider subscribing to my channel, and I hope you guys consider following me along on Goodreads. My account will be listed in the description box down below, including links to the hosts of Tome Topple. And I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. Again, this is not really something that I typically, it's not really something that I typically read.